love is but a song we sing, feels the way we're done. You can make
Students of UPenn, take over your classroom, seize the campus, liberate your minds, and join the transformation. We must lead the world in a whole new dance. God only knows it's our only chance. Come on, it's time to study.
So I'm a performing artist, and I'm from New York City. I'm based in New York City, and you know, I've been kind of making and devising my own work in collaboration with the director, Suzy Takahashi, for, I don't know, like the last 7 years or so. And the last piece we did had a thematic through line of female martyrs, and someone who saw the play told me that it reminded them of Kathy Change, and I didn't know who Kathy Change was. And so I began to research Kathy, and I became fascinated with her story. And one thing led to another, where I applied for an artist in residency at Here Art Center in New York City, and I got it. And so I've been developing this piece for the last 2 years through the residency. Change came about, and it was just all timing. It was just, like I said, about the confluence of things. It's the fact that it's being held in Philly this year, and that Kathy was a Philly icon. And I'm in the towards the end part of my residency, so this has been a really good stomping ground, testing ground to put together the full length of it. You know, learn from what we do here, share it, and then continue to develop it for the full length premiere in New York City in 2015. A large part of the time-consuming nature of this piece in particular has been gathering information about her, because there is not that much online. And Kathy self-immolated on the campus of UPenn in 1996, before the social media boom and before internet was really like a mainstream kind of thing, with especially with the access of video and cell phones and photographs and things like that. So there's really not that much. So I had to really kind of dig and become a little bit of like an investigative journalist to gather the information, and then, you know, I had lots of conversations with people, and I ended up transcribing an interview that I was able to have access to with this guy that was a sophomore on the campus of UPenn in 1995, and he had a radio station. He was like a DJ or whatever. So he interviewed Kathy, and I contacted him, and he still had the cassette tape from that time. So that was like a real find, and it has sort of laid a little bit of the structure and the foundation for what the piece is, because it's over an hour long of her words, and she really kind of chronicles her life from like the very beginning up till it was taped in 1995, as 1 year before immolation.
Good morning, Philadelphia. I'm Brendan McGeever, and this is Penn Talk. Still waiting for you to call in with your burning questions for our very special guest, Miss Kathy Change. So, Kathy, you have our ears right now. What are your issues? What are you trying to get across?
Well, what I'm trying to tell you is what we consider our authority is doing nothing but sending us straight to hell. And what we're faced with really is an IQ test. And this is all the same cliche. And what I'm trying to say is that we are supposed to succeed.
Right.
The whole course of the future is purely a matter of belief.
I wanted to sort of get different sides of voices of influence of Kathy's life that I have come across in my research, and integrate them into the piece, because they become such a part of the fabric of her story from my perspective. So I got the idea to do that, to integrate some of these videos, and they've been taped from all over the place and then sent in. Like one of her good friends, Mary Thorne Gabriel, is from, she lives in Oregon now, so she videotaped herself there, put it in the Dropbox, and technology is amazing these days. Yeah, yeah. And Brendan McGeever, who now lives in France, who was the interviewer, has a video appearance. Oh, the cast are comprised of people that we know personally, as well as ex-students of Suzy's from the Stellar Adler studio. And Kyoko Kashiwagi, who plays like the ghost of my mother, is a dancer and performer that we've worked with quite a bit. And Lita, my production manager, has also been with us through all of the trilogy of works, is what I'm calling them. The lighting designer as well is somebody that I worked with a lot, Lucretia Briceno. And the costume designer this time is a fabulous designer named Machine Dazzle, who has done a lot of work for this artist named Taylor Mack in New York City. Initially, we weren't sure what it was going to be in terms of like cast size, or if it's one person or two people. We kind of selected the bits and pieces of all of the information that we wanted to see on stage, and we wove them together.
Yeah, usually what has been happening is that they read the end of the line and then you're still moving a little bit.
Okay.
Right?
Sorry, yeah.
Okay? So I just need you to decide one movement that you're going to do before you're going to go up
Okay.
into the, yeah. So you should have,
Want me to have?
I want you to have like 30 to 40 seconds more of movement.
Okay.
So Susie and I have been, working together. Like I said, we've had a long-term history of working together, and she kind of like is a real, like a master chef in a way. So she's got all these ingredients, and she just sort of concocts this like recipe, and that's how the script came about. And she wrote dialogue and everything too. And then I look at it, and we change things and rearrange them, and we add visual elements, and she really listens to me, and I say things like, I think that Kathy's children's book story should be in there somewhere, and as a fantasy element, as a visual element of like this dragon that comes through, this dragon train that's from the story of the Iron Moon Hunter.
The most peaceful place.
The way our process has been is that I come up with this idea, and I'm formulating and working on it, and I'm researching and gathering all the materials, and then we start talking about the piece, and we have lengthy conversations, and we meet regularly, and the more information I gather, the more I kind of share with her. And then there will, since I am an artist in residence at Here Art Center, there will be kind of like these like mini opportunities to perform some work in progress, like something called the Culture Art Festival, which is like a work of the resident artists that they have every year. So we will come up with some ideas that we want to share or to explore through those festivals, because there's little short workshops. So in the last one, I said, I want to explore this letter that she wrote to Amy Goodman from Democracy Now! 1 week before she died.
Kathy.
Dear Amy, I just sent a package of my writings to you. And I'm sending this letter on its own because the post office seems to lose half of the mail I give it to deliver, and my time is running out.
Kathy, I'm going to the store.
I'm sending this letter separately, so something I send you will reach you. I am an avid fan of Democracy Now! I have been listening to it recently, and it has been getting ever more enlightening. I think your show has had a substantial impact on mainstream news reporting. I hope you have a moment to check out my writings. Much of my recent writings is inspired by one line you uttered on the air, which is, I don't think utopia is achievable anytime soon, and not in this country.
I started feeling I wanted to focus in on the last year of her death to kind of see what are the events that drove her to the immolation, and how can we frame that and put that into some kind of structure. The thing that I think that happens with artists or anybody who creates work in any facet or discipline, when you are plugging away at it, chipping away at it, trying to really find your creative voice, after a while you go, oh, they're all kind of related, in a certain way. And with me, the idea of this trilogy of these Asian American, visionaries who had died young, different under different circumstances became a through line. And I also saw that there's this really kind of strong element of like people who are straddling this, being in places of worlds, between life and death. And that's really interesting to me because my mother passed away when I was young. So I think that there's really definitely like a presence in trying to figure out and a process of like exploring and creating work that's also coming out of a place of necessity. The thing that's different about this performance and the amount of pressure I feel is because of the subject matter and wanting to honor Kathy, but also because she's from here and a lot of her friends are going to be seeing this. And, you know, of course, there's going to be some level of scrutiny involved, which I got to just prepare myself and say, you know, I'm being an artist. I'm doing what I feel like I'm compelled to do. Telling the story how I want to tell it or we want to tell it. And also because within the festival, there's all these people that are, you know, these like very pioneering and people that are in the forefront of the Asian American theater scene nationally are here too to see the performances and be involved in the conference. And so it's like, it's exciting, but it's like, it's this really amazing culmination of all of these different aspects of like Asian American theater, you know, devised work and biographical fantasy narrative of somebody who's an icon in the city right here, so.
Building. It's me, Kathy. The media needs to take responsibility for the betrayal of the citizens of the United States of America. With greed and corruption of power, you have betrayed us. You have sold our futures in order to line your pockets with gold that once belonged to the streets. You are a monolithic monster.
The only thing I would like to say basically about the subject matter and about Kathy Change is that because she was such a very kind of West Philly presence, and she spent so many years really passionately pouring herself into her activism and her protests and her message to try to transform the world into really a better place to live for everybody, that she wasn't able to really reach a larger and broader audience through media or whatever, for whatever reason. And so I feel very privileged and honored to be able to try to spread, you know, some awareness of and recognition of her life.